wondering how to introduce materials and centers to your students at the beginning of the year. It's an important step because it allows your students to be successful in your classroom, and also so you won't have to continuously correct their usage when done thoroughly at the beginning of the school year. This video is specifically for first-year preschool teachers, so stay tuned. This video is brief but will give you the information you need to apply in your classroom and have great impact. So let's get started. So there are 5 steps that you should remember when introducing your materials or your centers. Number 1, teach. Explain what they are and what they can do. So this means it doesn't matter if your students have been in the school for a while or have been in another classroom, they haven't been in your classroom. So they have to learn how to use those materials in your classroom. The 3-year-old classroom, they may have a whole different set of rules and expectations for those materials, but in your class, you may have something different in mind. So it's important that you are explaining to them what the particular items are so that they have the vocabulary to use when asking for them, and tell them what they can do with those items. And this applies every time that you want to introduce materials, whether it's at the beginning of the school year, the middle, or even towards the end. You're gonna want to always explain those things to your children. So step number 2 is to demonstrate. How can they use those materials or those centers? And my favorite question to ask is, what does it look like? So this is where you have the materials or you're in the center and you are actually acting it out. You're acting out what it looks like for them when they get into that area or when they're working with that material. Once you have done that and they are actually seeing it being put to use or seeing how you are interacting or how you are moving about in that center, then maybe you want to ask a couple volunteers to join you so that they can also use the material or be in that center with you and interact with you as if it was any other day. This is important because how many of us are visual? So if you're a visual learner, you want to see what it looks like, what's happening, and how it's being used. So this is an important step that you should not skip. Step 3, you're going to practice. You're gonna actually have the children work with the materials or work in the center. You've taught them, you've demonstrated, you're gonna actually have them do it now. So this can mean a small group or even a whole group. I've done it both ways, depending on what I was trying to share with them. So as a small group, what I did, introducing centers, if I had a group of 15 students, I would take 5 children, my partner teacher would take 5 children, and then there would be a group of 5 that would do something independent. Now, the children that I'll get back to the children that are doing the independent work, but the children that I have in my group, they are playing in the area or using the materials as I have demonstrated, as their friends have demonstrated, and we're doing this to a timer. So maybe about 15 minutes, they're in that area, they're working it, they're trying to navigate in that area. While I'm doing this, I'm still talking to them and watching them and maybe still teaching some things. While this is going on, the teacher in another area is also doing the same thing. So if I'm in the dramatic play area, another teacher will be in the block area and doing the same thing. We're both teaching, demonstrating, and then allowing time for practice. Now the group that's independent, I want to stress that that is a group that is working on something that is open-ended so that they don't have to come up and ask how to do this or what to do next. It's an open-ended activity that we have taught as a whole group. So this is what you're going to do at the table, whether it's Play-Doh or whether it's drawing or whether it's working with Magnetiles or Legos. They're doing that. It's an activity that will engage them so that we can teach these children. And of course, you're still watching what those children are doing. You're not you don't have your back turned towards them or anything, but you are specifically working with the group that you have in your area. And when the timer goes off, then my group will go to the block area. The children that were in the block area will go to the table, and then the children that were at the table will come to me, and that will work on a rotating basis. Now, when you do it that way, what I would do the next day is when they come in, those would be the two areas that would be open, because they are now familiar with those when they walk in. And then that same day, we will introduce 2 more centers, or however you want to do it. And then we'll also have another open-ended activity for the third group to work on. And it'll keep going like that until by the end of the week, the whole classroom is open and they're able to do how you want them to do, whether it's rotating or whether it's a free-flowing type of center time. That's up to you. While this is going on, this would be the perfect time to actually take pictures of the children doing those activities that you want to highlight or to focus on in those areas or with those materials that you are introducing. And then you would post them in that area or around that material that shows exactly what to do and how to play with those things. It's important to give them as much time as needed during this time of practice, because they're going to need it. You don't just do it once and then that's it. You have to make sure that it's reinforced. This is brand new to them. You're brand new to them. So you have to make sure that it's consistent. So the amount of time you put into it now or at the beginning will decrease the amount of time that you have to put into it later. Step number 4 is acknowledge their efforts. So this is the time where you let them hear more of what you want and what you like. You're affirming the things that you want to continue to see. So you're acknowledging them. You're just saying, oh, I like how you are doing XYZ. Oh, I'm glad that you're leaving enough space for so-and-so to do this, that, and the other. So you're just affirming them and affirming their behaviors and the usage of the materials in the centers. This is the point where they get to hear that, okay, they're doing it how you have requested them to do it. Step 5 is to repeat. So whether that is with other items or with the same items or the same centers or different centers, you're gonna have to repeat, because they may not totally get it. They may not get it the second time. So you just have to make sure that you are repeating the process, because doing it with you and then doing it on their own when other things are going on, it's 2 different things. So you're going to want to repeat it as much as you have to. Remember, you're putting time and effort in it now so you can save time and effort later. These 5 steps can be applied to other things than your materials or centers, but also routines and procedures. I will be doing a routines and procedures video that will go a lot deeper at another time. So let me leave you with 3 tips that you can apply here for materials and centers, but other areas as well. Tip number 1 is don't assume. And I say this in so many of my videos, but do not assume that they know how to use materials or what to do with the materials or where to go with the materials. Do not assume any of that. Again, just because they've been in school or just because they've been in another classroom, they haven't been in your classroom and they don't know what your expectations are. So do not assume. And because you are not assuming anything, that means tip 2, you are teaching everything. What seems obvious to you will not necessarily be obvious to them. So teach everything. And good old tip 3 is to label your shelves and your containers, because this is the easiest way to ensure that children are not only cleaning up, but they're also putting things back where they belong. So once you have your shelves labeled and your containers, it will be a lot easier for them to do that. You want to make the classroom environment a place where they can be successful, and this is one way where you can. So I hope this video helps you as you welcome your new kiddos into your classroom, and it also helps you lay a strong foundation for management in your classroom as well. Go ahead and share this video to any first-year preschool teacher who may need it. And also subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when the next video has been posted. Until then, I'll see you soon. Bye.